Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lesley Williamson. I'm the Executive Director at the Saltonstall Foundation for the Arts. I'm so pleased that we're the kickoff event for Spring Rites. We've been involved in some way, either with a panel or readings for the last probably 5 or 6 years, and it's always a thrill to be a part of the literary community in Ithaca. So thank you, Cap, for having us, and Kathy for scheduling us, and Buffalo Street Books for hosting us. If you're not familiar with the Saltonstall Foundation for the Arts, we've been around since 1995. We support New York State artists and writers, primarily at the Arts Colony out in the Ellis Hollow neighborhood. We provide fully supported residencies during the summer and subsidized retreat space at the colony in the fall, winter, and spring months. We have 5 open house, open studio events at the colony that coincide with each residency season. They're the only times of year when we're open to the public. It's a really nice opportunity to come up, meet some New York State artists and writers who you might not be familiar with yet, but who end up being people like Sally Wen Mao. And you can say that you heard them then, reading at Saltonstall, before they published their books. So Alex is going to be our first reader this afternoon. Alex Chertok has work published in the Kenyon Review Online, the Missouri Review, the Cincinnati Review, Third Coast, Copper Nickel, and Best New Poets 2016, among others. He was runner-up in the North American Review's 2019 James Hurst Poetry Prize and completed his MFA degree at Cornell University, where he was also a lecturer. He currently teaches at Ithaca College and through the Cornell Prison Education Program, and incidentally also serves on the board at Saltonstall, for which we are deeply grateful. Please give a warm welcome to Alex Chertok.
Thank you, Lesley, for inviting me here. It's great to see everyone out here. The last time I think Ben and Sally and I have been in the same room was 5 years ago when we were at Cornell together, when Sally was a rising star, and now she's fully risen. And Ben is next. That's my prediction. Ben's the next star to rise. You have to say something nice about me now during your reading. So I've got just 4 poems, and most of them are new. Saying that these poems are new always feels like a kind of built-in defense against criticism. Like if you don't like them, well, they're brand new. They're still they're tender and green. The first one is called "It's Time to Write Poems Now About My Father." The trees are still mostly green. One hemisphere of paleness, a plaque or two of blood colors, shadows in the branch tangles. A bird drums the house, forest code for next week's cold, last-ditch loin throb, syntax of knuckle taps against the siding, against a desk. My father, his uncut hair, the claws still scrape of his fingers scratching it in a sorry one-room apartment. It's time to keep him here before his leaves blush so burning red they lose their grip and rot to litter. Before he's flown the coop and the drumming bird is carried south to leave behind the lonely amygdala of its nest on the top branch. Pinion him to the page, now that he still has some hangers-on at the top of his gladiola. Before our stories wisp to dandelion seeds, we blow into his face. Take inventory. The wind moves just so. The lost dog poster so long on the telephone pole that the flyers sloughed onto its wooden skin. Years still left in our old boy, hard of hearing, bald patch, newly deadpanning on the latest looping thought. Still knows an email means to sing into our ear. Bolt him to the world. The not yet naked woods, a small cure, another Alzheimer's pill to stop time before he makes a break for it toward the next town's empty greenhouse of his mind, lighting up the foggy night like a bootleg recording of the moon. Just one more poem about my father, but these poems have been coming kind of plentifully over the last couple of months. And there are a couple of Yiddishisms in here toward the end. This one's called "Ever Since Alzheimer's Cut a Hole in Your Pocket." This also functions as the title is the first line too. Ever since Alzheimer's cut a hole in your pocket, for Judy Garland's name and your son's birthdays to hourglass out, you've called me my lord on the phone and bless you at the goodbye. This is what a mind unseated from its horse finds on its hands and knees in the empty field. The luggage you came with is buried so deep and unmeddled it's beyond beachcombing. And I'm still here, safeguarding the passport you thought you'd lost. Go ahead, Dad. Bless me all you want. Though how lordly is my loudest worry. Will this wasting away become mine? The same as a decade ago, after I'd kissed against a wall, under the bass's carotid pulse, a girl who, months later, caught meningitis. How would you like to be given a taste of your own worship? If every call I ended by stuffing your unmendable pockets with God gushiness? How worthy would you feel if I knelt down with you to sift through sand for the crumbs of your lineage, knowing full well your pills will never fill your tongue with your parted speech, or your blood back up with your past? What if I brushed the schmutz from between your fingers and cradled your kepi, bruised from the fall? If I spent your blessings by giving them back? The thoughts of the strobe-lit girl are quiet forever in their sleeve, and your hands have started to trill. What would happen if my thoughts were stuck like yours, like any true lord's, in an end of record skip on praise? Okay, we're shifting away. This requires a little bit of commentary. A couple of years ago, my wife and I hosted a Halloween party, and to kind of spook up the house, she brought home a bottle from, I think, taken from her scientist parents' lab, with the writing Hyla arborea on the outside. Does anyone know? Anyone know what that scientific name means?
It's a tree frog, yeah.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And it contained in formaldehyde a tree frog. And it was dead. It was splayed out, and it spooked up the house. It was a big hit. The party ended, and the tree frog remained for many months after, right near my desk, about 5 feet away from my desk. It was watching me work. I don't know why I kept it around. I think I liked its company or something. But for many months it was there as a kind of companion to me. And during this time, as it was watching, this is a strange confluence of things. On Twitter, a colleague of mine had tweeted, I just got lost watching hours of To Catch a Predator clips. You remember the show? And so this strange poem came out of all of that. I too lost myself in those clips, and this poem emerged. Hyla arborea. It's for when Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator crew walks out that I watch. The caught guy's vision in that instant must blur like a rain puddle on which wind ruffles the image of branches. I mean the very second when his body becomes tree frog embottled in a thick dream air. He can't run or yell despite the world being on fire. This is before he beelines for the door. I mean long before the aha that he too has been a camera lurking around curves whose lens is not to be looked into. How to the chase trauma cuts, and yet his snared minds pickled him in this, the last piece he'll get to live in. I'm watching his face not recognize faces. This isn't about justice. To turn the corner and see the firing squad of what awaits him. The dead body of the boom mic sprawled out ungodly angles. This isn't about him. This is about the water stain of a moment crow's-footing one's sight forever. The skinned light encroaching. This is about me turning corners. My one life breaking bone-like all at once. A prayer, really. My body dying on the pavement. But that blessed stillness just before. Okay, one last one. Every summer my wife goes on her archaeological dig to northern Israel for 6 weeks. She's leaving in June, and which is sweet because watching her do what she loves to do, but it's hard because it's 6 weeks of separation. After 6 weeks apart, we fawn over the white landmass on the dog's upturned belly as a way of waiting for the other to own up first that loneliness nearly crushed them. We hear geese in the staticky dark, as if the one lit tree outside moonlights as migration call. How many have already been sucked into the sky's engine, hauling their vapor trail of feathers, or been shot down by hunger or headwinds, or will stray off course, or plummet mid-flight into an open pit mine in Montana, or against a wind turbine whose lights must feel close enough to lick. My wife was just up there, shimmering in her window seat. Geese overhead were star-like once. So was a firefly on the windshield after dying against it. Now it blinks on the glass like the eyes of a guillotined head. Our dog knows to get to its crate, feels the tremor in us. Fog, like a spilled sachet of lavender, kills the moth swarm of stars. We move into our bedroom as into the big blade of an oncoming winter, evaporating in our matter of time. Give me one foot in my youth, but keep my other foot here, where the summers turned us stray. We wolf down the meat pile of each other's body, for fear it would be taken away if we stopped to breathe. Thank you.
Alex Chertok is the inaugural Ithaca Festival poet. Yeah.
So I've got 4 poems here. The first one is called Rebody It Forth. Day of bad news at the doctor's. Day of about face. From health to frail. From self to body. Rote to fraught breath. The sun has a heft of a blue whale's red half-ton heart, risen from the ocean to descend back into it. Day of reversals, of being given this vision of hearts pulsing on the sky. Having come a long way to land here, the waves dump their heavy sacks down, now, filled with their startled debris. They wipe his footprints clean from the beach. Above, the faint start of the moon like a welt. How heals it, wailing at the night. Here of the wind's cool breath against his cheek. But he hears just the horizon a quiver, soon to be jilted. Surely the moon can be other than cyst. What if it were strong, hard-hatted, who left the soft darkness of space behind to clock in? What if the sun shivers down, melted by the moon's desire to wing a whole hand width across the sky? This kind of trek in one night, small, almost stayed put. The waves, too, pulled up and down and not forward, even in daytime when no one can see the moon pulling. This kind of heart, of grit. What if the moon kept both eyes on its work, even as the sun Icaruses out of view? What if the moon were this tender of water hissing on shore against this body that needs to be lit, needs seeing? This. This is an Ithaca poem. It was warm. This is about a couple of years ago. It was warm out. I was excited about that. I opened the window. And as I was working at my desk, a robin all of a sudden alighted on a bush right outside my window. And I was overcome with this deep desire to communicate with it. Does anyone else have that? Does anyone else walk down the street hoping to talk to animals? Or is this just my pathology? No. Well, good. Well, then you'll understand this. It's called double cross, and there's a word that may be unfamiliar. It was unfamiliar to me. It's tapetum. The word is tapetum. T-A-P-E-T-U-M. It's that layer on the eyes of certain animals that makes it appear to glow in the dark. We all know what it is. That's why I'm the. That's,
Use that later. People will be very impressed.
Well, that one's on the house. Double cross. The YouTube recording of a robin's mating call fooled her. She flitted her head toward the sound. She landed in the honeysuckle bush at the crest of breeding season to be talked into it, through the window, into the room where the two-toned song trickled from the laptop. What did she hear? Her own idiom in a crackled accent. A call from both halves of the syrinx, plus a third tone of two tinny speakers. Duplicitous desire. A voice auto-tuned to sound like one she knew. A sentence auto-corrected to mean nearly itself, but not. You're all grown up becomes your sorrow's up. I'm home becomes I'm gone. And this the heart would become if the words were taken at their word. If the robin didn't do her double take and listen with deep question in her face. She turned toward the sound like a person who's locked gaze with a puma's tapetum moving through the brush. But the recording couldn't cut it. It was a key cut round to fit a sawtooth lock. It was street lamp glint off headphones, and not the puma's eyes she hoped for. She was not the duped one. She flew away with her son holding wings over the telephone wires. She knew better. She knew all along. The bird call buffered, then froze. Its sorrow was up. Its home was gone. This, the single loneliest way to die. And it talks about that. This is called The Question. There were as many words for the smell of a train just passed as there were in her mouth. Just alasness, the rattling sounds of leaving. I was there, first period English, second chair from the door, the day Miss Dax broke down, choked up on the crockery, breaking in her throat. We watched her crack down the middle like a vase, trying to hold it in behind her long desk. Grown woman, wrongful grief, going through a failure in her heart. I was 17. I'd never gotten a speeding ticket. I'd only seen this one country. To me, she was worse than naked. Naked would have stayed quiet. She stammered as if her pants were pulled at her ankles, beaten by both silence and speech. Derelict teacher without her dictionary. Her eyes staring through the back wall of the classroom at either spindrift or snowfall. She couldn't tell what was falling from what had already fallen. Why was all she had, over and over. Why? Climbing over itself before I'd ever held a newborn. I'd never not held my breath passing a graveyard. I'd never changed a flat tire or taken back a gift, never swallowed liquor yet. I hated her that morning. I still bit my nails. I'd never touched a woman's torso. I'd never been in the dark inside of a funeral home. I'd never licked the inside of a pomegranate clean or tasted sweetbreads, hadn't sneaked a look at the cuts on a girl's wrist I knew had been slit. I'd seen wind from the inside of a bus make a wake of a woman's scarf as she ran to catch it. But I'd never yelled for the driver to stop. Please stop. I hadn't yet seen beets turn my piss bloody or my brother turn ghostly on a throatful of kale. I'd never sworn off something I loved, then clambered back to it, begging forgiveness. She must have longed to sleep in that morning, in the warm room of that morning, to hold her long life in her lap and not leave the house. Why? Of herself, of the blurred world her body had left the classroom to bring in, of the books we'd read with no answers yet. Essay prompt to end them all. Why? Of us, who never stood up, not once, who let her cry alone. Okay, and this is the last one. I realized that this is also a poem about animals and about mating rituals of animals. I don't know what this reveals about me, but I'm scared. Yes. Well, we can talk about titles later. Here's another word that was once unfamiliar to me. The word is lek, L-E-K, lek. It's when males assemble during mating season and engage in these competitive displays. Which is this sounds like a human male thing too, right? It's all true. So I tried to take, it's called watching a clip of an elephant seal. And if anyone has ever watched a clip of an elephant seal on YouTube, you know that it's a rather aggressive scene. It's never a romantic courtship. It's always like the female running in the other direction as the male kind of pursues. I tried as hard as I could to make this kind of aggressive moment a love poem. Tell me if I did it. watching a clip of an elephant seal. Here it comes, strong again, the lust in me to leck, to tear the flesh from anyone who looks at you wrong. Your body's splayed out and slick in the warm laptop light on the beach of this couch. The urge rises to ride roughshod and unbidden over your ribs, then all at once to be ridden, to tear and also to be torn in two and gored by you. My one hand makes its clumsy, scarred-chested charge, and my other nuzzles your scared young, huddled beneath. Grunt and gruffless coupled. Whale bones, and planktonic tongue. I want to bite and be bitten both, to tusk the gluten and the worry from your stomach and better you tenderly. You can nurture the beachmaster down to a hatchling. You've given them all to me, the bull's tooth to fight for you, the pup's fear of losing you, the mother's stroke. With a proboscis bearing down, I breathe your name, Fred, to soften my chest hard shield and what's hidden, what you found and budded, my huddled beneath. Thank you.
My gosh. I mean, what can you say? What a remarkable talent. Keep an eye on this young, please, give it up for Alex one more time. I mean, remarkable. Really, really.